Hey everyone, it's James from Support here. Today in this video I'm going to take you through invoices in onCourse and sort of how they're made and what they're made up of. So go through a bunch of the fields and whatnot in there. So invoices in onCourse can be made in two ways. The first way is done automatically, so if somebody purchases something on the website or if they purchase something through you in the office and you ring it up in the checkout, then at the end of that process an invoice is always produced, and if they pay for it at the same time, then that invoice will have a $0 owing amount, but also invoices can be paid down the line with a due date as well, and all of that can be set up in the checkout, and we cover that in some other videos. So just to go through the makeup of an invoice record, I've got one open here. And this one you can see is to a company, so you can have an invoice get or be applied to any contact record. Can be a student, can be a company. In this case it's a company. You can see that this invoice was created on the 14th of April, had a due date of the 21st of April, so you can change those terms on in the financial section of a contact. If you want them to have, say, 30 days to pay an invoice or something along those lines, then you can set that automatically, and this date would have then instead appeared as the 14th of May. You can see here, this is the overdue amount, this is the invoice number. If the customer requires their own sort of reference number, some places, especially companies, can require a purchase order number or something along those lines. You can often use the customer reference field to input that and save that. And then obviously we have billing address and shipping address as well, which you can add if you need to. These invoice lines are created automatically when, especially like during an enrollment or any kind of sale, then each product will create its own invoice line. And you can see here, this was 3 enrollments paid for by this company: James Banks, Jack Smith, and Jim Banks. And if we go into the invoice line, we can see that this particular enrollment cost $170. It was originally $200, excluding tax, and there's no tax type on this, but it was given a discount, and you can see the class that they enrolled in, and the income account, so the account that income is going into, the onCourse account. And then there's also a description here which tells you the name of the course and when it starts. And we can go through and have a look at all of these. Are pretty much the same as well. And then down the bottom here we have a payment plan, which I'm pretty sure we cover in another video what this is. But this basically tells you when a payment was made. You can see here when the invoice was created, $510 on the 14th of April. A payment was due, so a $200 payment was due then, and they made that payment via credit card. If you click this, you can actually go to the payment record and review the details of that payment. And then you can see here that there is still another payment due, which was due on the 21st of April. So it's now technically overdue, which is why it's showing up here in the overdue amount. And here you can see just down the bottom, we have the total and also the amount owing, which is basically the amount, the total minus any amounts paid. There's also some notes fields here as well, public notes, which means if you happen to print out an invoice PDF for this contact, any notes that you write in will be printed out on that, unless they're private notes. Then private notes obviously only appear in onCourse and can only be seen by onCourse users. And then you can tell the source. So this was obviously created in the office. It was created by me, so it could have been a sale that I had done or something along those lines. We can also create our own invoices. If we come down here, and I'm in the invoice window at the moment, if I hit the plus button, and we could actually start to create our own manual invoice if we wanted to, and we can set a contact, and then you obviously have to add some invoice lines as well. I can change the due date on this if I want to. I can actually also change the invoice date too if I need to do that. and this can really be for anything. So this is really just here if you need to correct an issue, or for whatever reason that you need to create a manual invoice, then this is how you can go through it. If you need to assign this invoice that you're creating to a class budget, you can do that. We can find the class code that we want to apply it to. If we want to apply it to an enrolled student, I don't know if there's any enrolled students in these classes. Doesn't look like it. No. So one in an earlier one? No. Okay. So, but if there was a class with enrollments in it, you could actually apply this invoice to a student or to an enrollment. So yeah, we can see here we've just added a title, which is what will display in the invoice line once it's saved. And then we want to come down here to the total and add a price. So we can see the tax type is set as GST. So if I put in $100 here, it will work out the GST amount. You can see here the tax amount here, and that's the price excluding GST. And then the payment plan is here. If you want to create a payment plan, you can do that. Again, I go through that in another video in our finance playlist, so make sure you go and have a look at that. And then down here, there's this little send email checkbox. You don't always need this, especially if you're trying to fix an issue in the system, like a payment issue or something along those lines, and you don't necessarily want to inform the user that you've made a mistake and that you've had to apply another invoice, or in some cases a credit note. So you would uncheck that before you hit the save button, and therefore there's no sort of invoice notifications being sent out and making it look like you're charging this person again. And we'll hit save, and bam, that invoice is created. Cool, thanks for listening. We'll catch you in the next one. I'm probably going to have a look at creating manual credit notes.